You've realized entrepreneurship might be your most viable path out of the corporate world, even if you're still hesitant. But here's where most people go wrong. They start with business ideas instead of starting with themselves. They see someone launch a startup and think, I could never do that. Or they hear about someone buying a company and assume that's the only real entrepreneurship. They're choosing backwards, picking a path before understanding how they actually work. This is part 2 of my series about becoming a reluctant entrepreneur. If you haven't already heard it, go back to episode 25 to understand and unlock your resistance. Today, we'll look at what kind of entrepreneur you already are. This is Burn the Map. If you've spent decades in corporate and you're ready to build something of your own, this is for you. I'm Shelley McIntyre, and I help people make this transition. Let's go. After 20-plus years in corporate, you already know your entrepreneurial operating system. You know whether your brilliance comes out in meetings or if you prefer deep solo work. You know you're the person who fixes broken systems or if you invent entirely new ones. You know your tolerance for uncertainty. You've been using these settings for years, but you haven't been calling it entrepreneurship. You were always doing it inside someone else's company. You can tap into your existing skills to create a new chapter that works better for you. Before you start researching business ideas or browsing franchises for sale, ask yourself this. If this business succeeded wildly, what would it restore or protect in your life? Freedom, deep relationships, creative expression, or maybe a sense of meaning. Here's the thing. The more you ask your business to provide, the fewer options you'll have. If you need your next venture to give you financial security and creative fulfillment and daily human connection and flexibility and prestige, you're going to struggle. Look broadly at your life. Where else can some of these needs be met? What's the business actually responsible for? Less is better. Getting clear about what work the work must do could create some opportunities for volunteer work or reviving an anemic social life. The more you bolster your life outside of the job, the more possibility steps in. Once you're clear on what you need, it's time to understand how you operate. Number 1, who do you work with? Some people thrive alone. They love deep work, long stretches of focused time, making decisions without consensus. If you spent your corporate years frustrated by endless meetings and committee decisions, you might be a solo builder. Others need a thought partner, not a team to manage, but one person who shares the load. Someone to trade ideas with at 10 p.m. when you're stuck, or someone who brings complementary skills. If your best work has always happened in collaboration, you might need a partner. And some people love developing others. They're energized by setting vision and watching a small team execute. If mentoring junior colleagues was your favorite part of corporate, you might be a micro-team leader. Each one is a valid way to work, and one is a more natural fit with your operating system. Number 2, what do you create? Think about how you respond when something breaks. Do you see the flaw and immediately know how to fix it? You're an improver. You think in iterations, in optimizations, in here's how we make this 30% better. Or do you get bored with maintenance and you're drawn instead to inventing something completely new? You're an inventor. Fresh concepts energize you, even if they're risky. Maybe you're neither. Maybe you're the person who takes chaos and creates order. You don't need to invent or even improve. You just want things to run smoothly. That makes you an operator. Or you see patterns that no one else notices. You don't want to build or fix. You want to give strategic direction. You're a strategist. It might be harder to figure this one out if you were stuck in a job where you didn't get to do the thing you really wanted to do. But that's a clue too. Let your frustration guide you. Number 3, How much flexibility versus predictability do you need? Knowing your risk tolerance is good for your gut and your sleep habits. Some people are stability-oriented. They want predictability, a clear runway, and control over variables. They need to know the mortgage is covered before they experiment. Others are calculated risk takers. They need some evidence before jumping, but they're willing to experiment and pivot. They want proof of concept, not guarantees. And some are high vision risk forward. Big bets energize them. Uncertainty is fuel, not friction. Your risk tolerance is about your values in motion. What you care deeply about determines the risks worth taking. Now that you understand how you operate, let's look at business models that might fit. Fractional or consulting or interim work. You're still doing what you did in corporate, but on your terms. You manage your own time, choose your clients, and set your rates. The learning curve is lower because you're leveraging expertise you already have. This is best for solo builders or micro team leaders who are improvers or analysts, stability-oriented or calculated risk takers. The reality check here is you need to be comfortable drumming up your own work. No one's handing you clients, and you need to get good at estimating efforts. Scope creep will kill your margins here. Buying a franchise. You get a proven system, brand recognition, and support. There's less invention and more execution. You're reporting to a franchise owner, so if you need high autonomy, this will chafe. This is best for operators who want stability and don't mind following someone else's playbook. This path requires capital upfront and comfort with structure. There's a clear path to profitability, but there's limited room for creativity. Buying an existing business. You're buying revenue and systems, but you're also inheriting people and problems. This is for someone who sees a struggling business and thinks, I know exactly how to fix this. This path is good for improvers or operators with capital and patience, solo or micro team leaders. This reality check is to expect a slow path to making it yours. You need to learn what's broken before you can improve it, and the previous owner's reputation, good or bad, comes with the sale. Starting from scratch. You have an idea that doesn't exist yet, and you're willing to try, pivot, fail, and try again until you figure it out. This is the highest risk, longest timeline option. This is best for inventors and calculated or high vision risk takers. You can be solo or partnered. Big reality check on this one. If you can't afford 12 to 18 months of experimentation, financially and emotionally, this isn't your path yet. You need a runway, and you need to be okay with most of your early attempts not working. If you're feeling reluctant about all of this, that reluctance is asking the right questions. Which path fits me? Can I afford the gap? What am I actually signing up for? All of these are great questions and signs that you're thinking clearly. After a lot of years adapting to systems that weren't yours, you get to build one that is, but it will only work if the shape reflects who you actually are. In the next episode, we'll talk about your first move, not the logistics of health insurance or business licenses. That comes later. But the actual first action you take based on who you are and what you're building. For now, pick one dimension where you have the strongest clarity. Who do you work with? What do you create? How much risk feels right? Jot down your ideas about each dimension and spend the next few days thinking about it. Then ask yourself, if this is true, what does it make possible? Burn the map. Build what fits. Thanks for listening to Burn the Map. You already have what you need to build something that feels like yours. For more, visit burnthemapcoaching.com. And if this resonated, send it to someone who needs to hear it.